Hello YouTube, it is me again, and I'm back with my new Doctor Who review. So we're on Chapter 2, The War of the Sontarans. So this is the return of the Sontarans. We haven't really had a Sontaran-centric episode since really Series 4. I know we've had Strax throughout the last few seasons, but there's never been a Sontaran-centric story ever. My feelings of the episode, I really enjoyed this one. I think it was a great follow-up from the first episode. It's not as chaotic as the first one is, because the first one was I won't say a lot of setup, but it did set up a lot of things that are going to affect the whole entire season. And with this episode, we have like three kind of spaces that we are exploring this week. Like we have the Doctor in the Crimean War era, we have Dan in the present era dealing with the Sontarans, and then we have Yaz go to this temple of Atropos with Vendor, the actor who plays Grey Worm in Game of Thrones, and dealing with that over there. And I think, to me, that was a very smart decision of really kind of splitting up the main characters to explore further of what this season is going to be about, especially with Yaz and the temple and everything else. I think everything was balanced really greatly this episode, and I loved the historical part of it. Seeing a historical figure as Mary Seacole. Now, I have to admit, I've never heard of her before, but it was great to have another historical figure here with a Doctor. I think the repertoire was great and how she was helping the Doctor and everything during that time. And of course, the Doctor going against the General, and the General putting her, of course, in her, trying to put the Doctor in her place, but the Doctor's not going to listen to him. And how the Doctor navigated around the Sontarans, I think, was a great and smart idea. And just seeing the Sontarans battle against British soldiers was something I never thought I would ever see in Doctor Who. But I think that was just like a really cool moment to see in the show. And of course, it was just really cool to see. And it was nice to see Dan's parents. I didn't think we would get that. And, basically them catching him up on everything that's going on with the Sontarans in the present. And then teaching him how to defend himself against the Sontarans. And then really seeing the brutality of the Sontarans, of killing innocent human beings, I think was a nice moment to really emphasize, they are a real threat. We need to get them out of here fast. And also with Yaz going on with the Temple of Atropos and how that deals with time and everything. I think that's a very interesting thing. We didn't get a lot of exploration on it, but I think that was an interesting kind of way to kind of wrap up the episode of everyone's in there, and that's where the cliffhanger is, and that they're saying that they're on a planet called Time. So that's interesting. And one thing that I want to talk about was the beginning of the episode, where it began in black and white and the Doctor sees a big house. There are some theories I've seen online of that that goes into Doctor Who novels. I probably won't go into that. Might be spoilers. I don't know. If you want to see certain theories, I guess you could look up a thing called Longborough. I do not know, but that's just what I've seen out there. I won't say it in this video. But all in all, I really enjoyed this episode. Once again, the stakes weren't as astronomically high as last week, obviously, but I still felt the stakes. I really do feel that Swarm and what's his the lady's version? I forgot her name, I'm sorry. But I specifically feel like Swarm is a very menacing villain, in that the way he just invades the character's personal space is very uncomfortable. And the way he just grabbed that Yaz, I was like, oh, wow, this guy means business. We still don't know his history with the Doctor. He knew everything about everybody. And so I'm assuming that he has a sort of psychic connection, considering what we saw last week with the Doctor and everything. And he knows the Doctor. So he knew how to get to her by, capturing Yaz. And I'm assuming that he sent her through time. So we'll have to see next week. I'm not entirely sure. I'm happy that the dog alien guy came back. I think that's a very fun recurring character. I really like that character with Dan. There's a really great repertoire with each other. But overall, I like this episode as a historical piece. I felt like everything had the right attention to where it had to have it on. I liked that we got some, more background on Dan with his parents, and with, yes, I guess you could say did kind of take a backseat to this episode. But I feel like we're going to see more of her next week. Definitely, considering she was taken away at the end of this episode. But what she did, I think she used her smarts. She had what the doctor do on her hand. She was very intuitive, kind of taking that, companion role to the next level. So, what do y'all think of this episode? And what are you looking forward to next week? And what are your theories on that house at the beginning? Bye, YouTube.